This is a Film Stories original podcast.
My dad works in B2B marketing. He came by my school for career day and said he was a big ROAS man. Then he told everyone how much he loved calculating his return on ad spend. My friends still laugh at me to this day.
Not everyone gets B2B, but with LinkedIn, you'll be able to reach people who do. Get a $100 credit on your next ad campaign. Go to linkedin.com/results to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/results. Terms and conditions apply. LinkedIn, the place to be, to be.
Welcome back to 8-Bit Back Issues, a podcast where we take a look at video games from yesterday through the eyes of the magazines that came out at the time. My name's Geoff Owen, and I'll be your host as we flick through the games magazines of the past. Now, on every episode, we have a different guest talking about a particular issue of the magazine that made an impression back in the day. And my guest for today is a Twitch and YouTube partner that focuses on retro gaming using original hardware. She's an English Norwegian living in Norway. She is Theresa, aka GameMistress. How are you doing today, Theresa?
Hi, thank you so much for having me on the podcast. It's an absolute honor to be here. I'm doing just fine. We're having super hot weather in Norway today. How are you today?
I'm doing pretty well, thanks. You're lucky getting the good weather. It is absolutely chucking it down outside. We just had an amazing weekend of sunshine, which is probably what's gone your way, actually, thinking about it.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, we've got rain, and we've got rain all week, apparently.
We're having 25 Celsius here, which is really unusual for May. So probably the heat wave will hit you soon again, because we tend to share the weather with the UK all the time. If we get good weather, you guys should get it. If you guys get bad weather, we will get it in the end.
Yeah, absolutely. And goes the other way as well. If you get the bad snowstorms, then they usually follow down here as well.
Oh, yes.
We're recording this in May. Now, Theresa, clearly you are into your retro games, going by your content. But before we dive into your history, are you also a modern gamer? And if so, what have you been playing recently?
Oh, yes, I'm a modern gamer. I have most of the modern systems minus the Xbox, because I take those games on the PC as it is. But I've been, lately, when it comes to indie games, I've played a very beautiful game called Geoff, which is about you have to climb this massive big tower and figure out why the world has gone dry, and actually the world has stopped spinning. So you're this cute little child with a cute little whale baby, and you have to figure out what has happened and how to fix it. And the last big game I've played, I gotta think now. I have played No More Heroes 3 on the Switch, which was quite an interesting, different, funny game, I have to say. And on the PC, I'm playing Deep Rock Galactic with some friends. And I'm also sometimes play a bit of mobile games, because I have this meditation game where you see balls keep unfurling. You have to try to make sure they keep unfurling.
Do you know what? I've heard people who slate mobile gamers for just because they're mobile gamers. There's nothing wrong with it, as far as I'm concerned. If you play mobile games, Switch games, Xbox games, PC games, whatever, retro games, you're a gamer, as far as I'm concerned. If you sit down on a train and you play some Candy Crush for a bit, then fine, absolutely fine. I didn't recognize that first game you mentioned. What was it called again? Sorry?
Geoff. It's French for I think it means tidal wave, or when the wave goes back.
Oh, okay.
It's made by a French studio. It's super beautiful. You can get it on PlayStation, Xbox, PC, I believe, Steam, etc. It's so pretty. It's made in Unreal, so the game is gorgeous with its cell shading graphics. And I've also been playing Celeste, because I just had a super fun and we hit that goal. And that is also a pretty cool game if you like to be beaten up at all the time.
That's my experience usually. If I go into Street Fighter or Mortal Kombat, I usually get my backside handed to me every single time. Right, okay, so let's go back through your history then. Now, before we land on your gaming system of choice, what systems have you played over the years, and what have been some of your favourite games?
So I started playing games thanks to my mother in 1991 when I was a baby. So we had the NES and Atari 2600 in the household. And then we got the Mega Drive. I played the Super Nintendo when I visited friends. I played on the Saturn. I had the N64, the GameCube, the Dreamcast, the original Xbox. My friends all had the PlayStation. So what we used to do, we used to visit each other and play on each other's systems. We had no console wars when I grew up. So you can say I played everything that was mainstream.
Oh, fantastic. Obviously, back in the day, you would have bought the magazines that were coming out for these systems. What magazines did you buy? Because I know you've got a bit of an interest inside of it with the magazines that you bought. Rather than buying local magazines, you sort of got them from a little further afield, let's say.
So, because I lived in Germany, we had complete different magazines and obviously the UK and American base. And when I moved to Norway, oh, Norway was not a gaming friendly country when I moved. They didn't even know what a Dreamcast was. Saturn they never came to this country, which was weird. But we had American magazines, so I bought Edge was one of them because when I was a teenager, I liked to read about the new games being developed for the GameCube and stuff. And then there was this awesome magazine, which I keep forgetting the name of, with the Sonic Adventure cover. I bought that one because as a child, I loved Sonic and I wanted to collect everything that was Sonic. And I was hoping it was coming to the N64 because Norway said to me, we don't know what a Dreamcast is. It doesn't exist. I'm like, oh, okay. But maybe that magazine can help me to find it.
Well, we do now live in an era where you do get Sonic games on Nintendo machines,
Yep.
but back then, not a chance.
It was unheard of. But as a kid, one can always hope when you can get your favorite console into a country. And we also had Electronic Gamer. I forgot that one we had. We also had Game Reactor. We had also Norwegian gaming magazines like the Club Nintendo stuff, etc. So we had quite a few magazines, and because my sister was married to a game developer, he used to work for Funcom, he got his fair share of English and American magazines, which I really enjoyed reading. So they would collect, I would come over, borrow them, and take them home with me.
Oh, fantastic. So you have picked an issue of the magazine that you keep forgetting the name of then,
yes.
I believe. Yeah. I've got it wrong as well. Electronic Gaming Monthly.
There you go. That's the one. And I keep thinking it's Edge for some reason because they both start with E.
I'll be honest, the American gaming magazine side of it was new to me when I started this podcast because we had Ian Buckley on episode 3 and he picked Computer Gaming. Was it Computer Gaming World, I want to say? Hang on.
I also forgot. I used to read Game Master, and I'm now reading a new game magazine from the UK called Debug, which covers all the indie games coming on retro and modern systems.
Oh, right. Okay. I don't know that one. I mean, I know about Pixel Addict. I know about the Fusion Retro magazines that are coming out, which not reproduce. They bring out new versions of magazines for Crash, Zap 64 Antics, and then they do a Fusion gaming magazine as well, which pretty much covers across the board. That's a good one to look at as well. And of course, there's the Retro Gamer magazine, but I didn't know about Debug. I'll have to keep an eye out for that one.
So Debug is one of the people from Wave Game Studios, their publisher for Dreamcast games. They're the ones running the show. And I think they have merged together with the Sega magazine people.
Okay.
They made like this new entity called Debug, and it's about indie games coming out on old and new systems. So it's a very cool magazine. If you're a retro game and a retro collector, then you kind of get a heads up. Oh, they're making a new game for the Super Nintendo, awesome, or for the Dreamcast, because not many people know that you can buy brand new games working on old hardware.
Yeah, I've been impressed by some of the stuff. I listened to the Retro Hour podcast, and we had Dan on the show recently as well. And listening to the stuff that's coming out across the board, I mean, they're bringing out games for systems like the Atari 2600. They're bringing out games for the Spectrum, bringing out games for the Wii U, which is a system that, according to Nintendo, didn't do very well for them. But I'm pleased to see that all of these old gaming systems are still getting the love from these developers. So it's really, really good to see. We are picking issue 112 then, which is the one you sent across to me. So why did you pick this magazine to talk about today?
Right. So I just moved to Norway. I was 9 years old and I lived in a very, very small place and where they actually sold video games in a bookstore because we didn't have a standalone gaming shop. You had to go to the big cities for that. And because back then we didn't have a motorway, those big cities were like 3 hours away, one-way driving, so you can forget that. No time for that. So I went into this magazine shop and there I saw Sonic Adventure. Like, no way, that's actually the game I want. And I can't find this anywhere in this God-forsaken countries I used to call this. I ran home to my mother and I begged her, can I please have the money to buy this magazine? I'll do everything you want me to do. I just need this magazine. She said, okay, what magazine is it? It has Sonic on it. Fine, here's 100 crowns. That would be the equivalent of £10 back then, because that's how expensive they were in Norway. I went down, I bought the magazine, and I was shocked to see, oh my God, there's many pages about Sonic Adventure. And then I like, what is a Dreamcast? Okay. I said, Mom, can you find me a Dreamcast? And she's like, let me phone up all the stores. And she said, I'm sorry, they don't sell them here. Like, oh.
Oh,
So it
no.
was because the Sonic Adventure and the Dreamcast, like I was really curious what the system was. And I was so excited to see Sonic finally embracing 3D because I had Super Mario 64, I had The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, and I'm like, oh my God, Sonic in 3D now, that's mind-blowing amazing.
When was the first chance that you got to play Sonic Adventure then, after that initial disappointment?
Wow. So I think I was, let's see, 13 or 14 years old. My sister phoned me and she says, Theresa, we have an emergency. Quick, come down now. She lived like 10 minutes down the road. So my mother drove me and she's like, what's up? And her ex-husband was standing there with a big smile. I said, come in. And there they set up a Dreamcast with all the games on a TV and they said, this is for you. And I'm like, how did you get hold of the Dreamcast? It's impossible. Funcom gave it to us. They want you to have fun, and we have Sonic Adventure for you. I was in tears, and I was up all night
Oh,
playing it. So that was a big thank you to my sister's ex-husband and the old boss of Funcom for making that a reality for me.
oh, fantastic. That must have felt like your birthday, Christmas, and everything
It
rolled into
did.
one.
And then they packed it down and said, here you go, take the Dreamcast home with you. And by the way, here's the boot CD because everything is CDR. Because I was so confused. I'm like, because the system didn't actually come out in Norway. Well, it did, but it was only one store or two stores in Oslo that sold like 2,000 units max. And that doesn't count as a release for me because Sega back then were really finicky how they would release that system. It was like only a handful of EU countries that were allowed to sell it. It was really, really odd.
Yeah, and it didn't do particularly well over here neither. I mean, it did come out. A mate of mine did have the Dreamcast, but I remember he only had a handful of games for it,
Yeah.
and it wasn't CDRs, things like that. He did actually have original copies of games. I'm trying to remember some of the games he had for it. No, actually, sorry. You know what? I'm a liar. He didn't have the Dreamcast. He had the Saturn,
Oh,
and it was
Saturn
the
is a wonderful. We had it in
yeah.
Germany, but Norway didn't believe in it, so they didn't take it in.
Yeah, because the Saturn didn't take off here neither. But he was the only person I knew who had a Saturn. And even he got shot of it and got a Nintendo 64, the first chance he got as well. But I remember that was the first exposure I had to Tomb Raider. Was playing his Saturn.
Wow. Yeah, we had my sister's ex-boyfriend had Panzer Dragoon 2. He had oh, there was this weird game. If you hit a tree, an elf would yell at you. It's not called Ogre Tactics. I'm not Battle Ogre, but something similar. Maybe it's Ogre Tactics. I'm not sure. And he had Clockwork Knights, which I used to play on all the time. I was only disappointed because there were no Sonic games or original Sonic games on the Saturn minus Sonic R, which I played on the PC. I'm like, oh, where's Sonic? What's going on here? How can you release a console without the mascot? This doesn't make sense. So little me was really disappointed by that.
I can imagine, yeah. My mate had a game called D as well, and I know it came out on the PlayStation, and I think there was a PC version of it. And I've wanted to go back and replay that game because I know it wasn't a very popular game or a very good game in many's eyes, but I enjoyed it so much. I loved the experience of that particular game, and I've recently found it on GOG on the PC, a cheap version, because a PlayStation copy is expensive.
Oh,
A,
yeah.
trying to find it on Saturn. Well, I'd have to buy a Saturn for starters. I don't have one, so that's going to be expensive. It's like, do I really want to pay out that much to play this game? But then, as I said, I found it on GOG, and I think it's less than a tenner. So
Oh, that game, yeah, it's a horror-themed interactive movie game. Oh,
yeah,
that's
very
cool.
Dracula themed.
Oh, nice.
And it's tricky because, as you can imagine, looking for D on the internet, it takes you down some very dark places.
I bet it does. I mean, I bet you also will get some very dubious links, which we better not
Yes.
discuss on this podcast.
Yes. Yeah, let's move on, shall we?
I can now say I got my Dreamcast fixed all met because when I lived in Sweden, I bought when I lived in Norway, I imported a Dreamcast from Sweden, so I have that one now. I have 3 other Dreamcasts, and one of them is complete in box, and that one I'm never opening because that's my little museum piece.
Oh.
And the same with the Saturn. I have 3 Saturns, one of them is complete in box, and that's also my museum piece. It's this, of course, when you stream, your systems can break down. So sometimes I tend to open them up and use them for spare parts and stuff like that, or I just take out some tools and get the original parts to work again. Luckily, Dreamcast is very easy because it's modular. Saturn is more like built in layers, which is a bit frustrating.
Yeah, I can imagine. Let's get to this magazine then. So, as you said, we've got Sonic Adventure on the cover. Interestingly enough, you said you got to play it a couple of years after. Was it a couple of years after you saw this on the magazine?
I would say about 4 or 5 years after, yeah.
Yeah, I only played this game for the first time just 3 months ago because I didn't have this generation of Sega at all. So this one skipped me by at the time. But it was interesting to go back and play it, and I could see why this would have been such a big thing at the time. What did you think when you eventually got to play this Sonic Adventure then?
My first thought was, the magazine promised me a Mecha Dragon, and I didn't get it. What the heck? Because that was the builds they actually removed in the end. I was like, what happened to the dragon? I wanted to find the dragon. I was like, I feel cheated. So I thought, oh, maybe they could, because I got it on the GameCube in the end. I'm like, oh, maybe the GameCube cheated me out of that experience. And then when I got to play it again on Dreamcast, nope, same thing. I'm like, okay, I guess this was content that was removed because it wasn't either approved or they forgot to put it in or something. And indeed, that was the case.
Is that actually in there? There's the dragon for...
Yes, you can actually see Sonic and Tails on the tornado. I think it's 1 or 2. And you see like this big dragon boss fight. It's like a mecha dragon protecting Robotnik's. I'm not going to call him Eggman. I do always call him Robotnik. Robotnik's fleet, basically.
Yeah, Robotnik is what I tend to call him as well. Is that an American thing then, just Eggman or
No, his original name, Eggman, was Japanese, and then when Sonic
right.
Adventure came out, Sonic says, "Oh, look, a big talking egg. How's it going, Eggman?" And then he takes it as an offense. And then later on, he adopts the name because he wants to, like, one-plus his enemy. And, like, why would you do that, Sonic? Is this going to bully you even more? You're not winning anything with that.
And there were games that came out called Robotnik, the
Yeah.
Mean Bean Machine, wasn't it? So it's like, well, that's his name, surely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've always been confused about that one. So yeah, I'm glad we agree on that. His name is Dr. Robotnik. This cover, though, it's got some great other titles in place here because as well as Sonic, with a great little art piece of him in this circular sort of design, they also mention as well, they talk about games like G-Police 2, Ridge Racer Type 4, Jet Force Gemini, Perfect Dark, Twisted Metal 3, Zelda 64, and WCW and NWO Revenge. Quite a few of those games are very iconic. Jet Force Gemini, Ridge Racer Type 4, I spent hours playing when I was younger. What about you? Any of the other games there on that cover?
Ocarina of Time, which is Zelda 64, was another reason why I read the magazine, because I saw Link had a horse. I'm like, what? I didn't even get that far in the game yet. No way. So it even made me more excited to play the game, because back then, even though I'm English, we never learned to read or speak English in Germany. My parents taught me how to speak English, of course. So reading English suddenly was like, I have to learn this. I learned it in less than a week because I already had the fundamental of the language in me because I'm born as an English woman, but still. And I was like, oh my goodness, there's so many cool stuff I didn't know about Ocarina of Time, which I have to get further to figure out. And Jet Force Gemini, I actually have that in mint condition. It was a present given to me by my best friend. They found it in Sweden for, I don't know how much they paid for it, but it is an absolute mint, and I was completely shocked. So it's downstairs in my collection with all, I have like this massive wall downstairs in the living room of all my retro games and consoles.
Yeah, I was watching your video yesterday about your prized possessions, just basically gearing up to swat up what you had, and it was a fascinating video actually. I loved the story about your Panzer Dragoon as well,
That
and I could
one was a heartbreak, but with a happy ending.
yeah, I could see how emotional that one made you as well. So if my listeners haven't watch that video, go check that one out because it's very, very heartwarming, very touching. I loved it.
Thank you.
Right. There's also 30 reasons to buy a Game Boy Color and instructions on how to buy your own coin op. I read that first as how to build your own coin op, but how to buy your own coin op, which I thought was quite interesting. This podcast pretty much is going to be driven by you there, Theresa, and things that you picked out from the magazine. So where would you like to go first in this dip into this magazine?
I really have to remember how the magazine's built. Do you have like a little summary? Because as I said before, my magazine I still have, but I'm missing some pages because it didn't survive moving all these different countries, sadly.
Do you want me to send you the link I'm actually using?
That's no problem. I have two monitors. I can use them, no problem.
There you go. That's in the chat.
Oh, yeah, this brings back memories. Oh my God. Oh my God. Okay. I am back. So I'm just having a look on my end in the magazine because this is like nostalgia filled for me. And I remember Spyro, and I'm like, Spyro, yeah, that's the game I used to play on the demo disc on the PlayStation because none of my friends had the full game until I moved to Norway, and they finally did. And you can imagine I was up all night playing Spyro.
I never had Spyro at the time, but I did recently buy is it the Reignited series that came out on Xbox and PlayStation? Yeah, I bought that and I've been trying to get into it and I'm not sure if I'm in the wrong mindset for it, but I can't quite wrap my head around it at the moment. But I do plan on giving it a proper go. Bought it with a Crash bundle as well.
So as a child, I was always more interesting in looking at the pictures and actually reading. So I used to get bullied like, if a book has no pictures, don't bother give it to me because I won't read. So the first thing what really stood out for me in the magazine was the game called Taifu, which is like this tiger ninja, I guess. And I do love the slogan, "Who you calling a pussy?" because I'm not American, so I didn't see that as an insult. I'm like, who you calling a cat, basically. I'm like, oh, I want this game, but I've never, ever, ever, ever seen this game. Not today, I still haven't.
What page are you looking at there?
14.
14.
There's actually 299 pages in this magazine.
Yeah.
I'm sorry that I had to sorry I picked out a very, very big magazine, but you have to understand, 9-year-old me was super hyped for this because I had all the 3D stuff and I was transitioning between 2D and 3D gaming. So for me, this was like the holy grail of the magazines to me because there's so much exciting stuff coming out.
Yeah, and particularly if you're just looking at the pictures of there, because I mean, what I tend to do when I do this is when my guests tell me the magazine they want to talk about, first thing I do is just flick through and just have a quick look, see what's there, and then I go in and make a few notes on things that have jumped out at me. I didn't look at the Taifu one, but the funny thing is, you pronounce it that way, and I don't know if I'm pronouncing it correctly.
Me neither.
But there's a British brand of tea called Taifu, spelled Typhoo.
All right.
And that's the first thing I thought of when you said Taifu, and I'm thinking, well, that's tea, surely.
It has to be. I just liked how the game looked and it really popped out to me. And yeah, I still haven't seen this. If any of the people listening today have seen this game, please hit me up on Twitter or X as it's called, because I really want to know what kind of game this is. It just looks so darn cool.
I'm just looking to see if it's got a mention on Wikipedia at all. Taifu, Wrath of the Tiger. is a PlayStation game released in 1999. It did come out, developed by DreamWorks Interactive, as in the movie company. So the game was actually released in the UK on 26th of March 1999. Wow, it's actually got some notable credits on there. It's the composer of the music is Michael Giacchino, who does the recent Star Trek movie theme tunes. He's done a lot with other movies as well. I know him mainly from Star Trek because I do a Star Trek podcast besides.
It never came out in EU. It only came out in the UK. That's why I've never seen it. I've
Oh.
never ever heard about games only coming out in UK. Wow, okay.
That'll be why then. But yeah, it came out with Activision, so it was released. But if it wasn't released across Europe, then no, you wouldn't have played it. But no, it does look a great game actually. I'm fascinated to see how much you can get hold of a copy of that for. And I bet you're going to be looking for that one as well now, Theresa.
Yep. I'm gonna see. Let's see. It's nice having two monitors. Let's see. Typhoon game eBay just for fun. Oh, it's actually very cheap.
What's the going rate on there?
$15 to $29.
That's not bad actually. I was expecting you to say something a lot higher than that, but
Oh, don't go for Vata brand, but we all know Vata is crap. I don't like them. It's all a huge scam. Okay, let's see. Taifu. So PAL must be the UK region.
yes.
There you go. Yeah, well, it's a Norwegian. Oh, because of import. So it's about 15 to 40 pounds complete.
That's still not
I want to hunt
terrible.
this game down. That's actually not a bad price. The thing is, because I live in Norway, we pay import over everything. So if you're living in Norway or you're an Englishman living in Norway and you want to collect, get friends to do it for you. You will skip the bloody import price because it's a frigging nightmare.
Unfortunately, since a particular thing that happened to the UK a few years ago, which I'm not a fan of, but yeah, prices for us have gone up as well. So
It has gone up so badly. It has gone up outweighing the living costs. It's disgusting. In your country, it's more expensive than in Norway at the moment.
yeah,
And we were flagged as the most expensive country in the world. Well, UK has beaten us fair and square there, and it's really sad.
yeah, so am I. Yeah, it's. Let's turn back the clock. Let's go back to 2012 when the Olympics were happening and it seemed like a good place, but never mind. Right. Okay. Back to it. Where else do you want to go in this magazine? Because that's a fantastic game.
I have a very funny toilet human. I can make fun of everything. The second game that really stood out to me was called Rogue Trip. It looks like you're playing a fat guy in a Hawaiian shirt, and you it's like a chaos game. It's on page 22. Rogue Trip.
Yes.
And you see this fat Hawaii. I don't know what the person was. And this very funny fat guy wearing a Hawaiian shirt, and chaos and hell is breaking out of him. And I have this very party humor, so this is like perfect for me because I love games that have chaos, destruction, exploding vehicles. I'm a proper tomboy and I'm still am. So I'm like, oh my God, I want this game. But again, it was on the PlayStation, a system I sadly did not own.
It looks a lot of fun. Again, it's another game I don't know about. Road Trip Vacation 2012, which would have been futuristic for the time.
Yep.
I love as well, don't know if you see it down the bottom right there of the second page of the advert, the car with the sausage on the roof,
Yes,
the sausage
I
and the
was
mask.
thinking of making adult jokes about that one, the sausage mobile.
It's very striking, isn't it?
Yep. It just needs two big melons next to it, then it's perfect.
Do you know what? It does actually raise a question for me because you are the first woman that we've had on the podcast so far. And previous episodes, we've talked about how a lot of video game magazines sort of targeted the male audience, including a lot of adverts which are very geared towards selling it to the man and making them look attractive to women, that sort of things. And I was interested to get your take on it, because there are a couple of adverts that I picked out as we're going through, which are 100% geared that way. And I wanted to kind of get your take on some of them as to whether you think they were offensive or not. I personally do. Yeah, I'd be interested to see what you think of them. And,
which page will we find the first advert?
Well, the first page, the first advert that we're talking about is going to be on page 30.
Oh, then you're soon there, but now I'll just scroll through. See, I was never really into community letters and stuff. Maybe that's just me being antisocial, but to me, when I buy a magazine, it's all about the games. But when I see sports games, I'm like, nope, not interested.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, so page 30 on my end shows Madden 99.
Oh, sorry. It's page 30 in the magazine.
Oh, my goodness. Triangle boobs has been replaced with real boobs.
Yeah, it's the whole thing. It says, we've improved everything you've asked for, but sorry, still no nude code. I remember the whole fuss about, is there a nude code for Lara Croft?
Oh my God. So my favorite female superhero of all time is Samus from Metroid.
Yeah.
And you never see Nintendo. I mean, yeah, of course, if you get the true ending, you see her in a bikini, fair enough. But you never see Samus sexed up in magazines like that. She looks tough in her power armor. She's kicking butt. And that's what I like in women. I like it when they're fierce and they're going to make you cry and stuff like that. So I'm going to be very honest. I found Tomb Raider to be super boring, and I was super bored that they offered me her sexual futures. I had no interest in that as a kid. And I'm like, if I want to see that, I can go to the beach. Just saying. So I'm like, how they're representing her is not fair what the game is about, because the game is about her being this awesome treasure hunter going through ruins and stuff. Her boobs have nothing to do with it.
No, exactly. And the angle that they've got to pose that there as well. It's clearly designed for men to flick through the magazine and just go, ooh. And, but yeah, I mean, on top of that is Tomb Raider 3 as well, which was my least favorite of the run, personally. I was a Tomb Raider fan. I still am. I've got the...
I didn't know it was Eidos Entertainment. The same people made... No, it's Crystal Dynamics that did Soul Reaver, but I think Eidos was with Crystal Dynamics?
That's right. Yeah, it started off with Core Design, who then became part of Eidos or something. And I think Square later on were involved as well. I seem to remember. I could be wrong on that one, but yeah, it's got quite a legacy there with some of the brands with it. But yeah, that particular advert sort of jumped out at me as going, oh yeah, that one's for the boys. So.
Oh yeah, I mean, unless you're a woman who's also into women, but I think I mean, I could be completely wrong. I could summon an angry pitchfork by saying this, but I think our mentality is a bit different than of the young men. Like we can say, oh, that woman's really beautiful, but I would go into the business side of things like, how is this selling the game to me? It's not. I'm not seeing what the game is about. I don't care about the model. That's how Nintendo do when you see Samus blasting Ridley on one of the magazines, right? Oh, okay, this is what the game is about. I get it. Somebody shooting evil alien butt.
Yeah, and the thing with Samus as well, you didn't know that Samus was a woman until right at the end of that first game.
I love that.
The reveal of that is legendary, because so many, I can imagine so many boys, so many men playing it thinking, look at this, Samus is great, he must be amazing. And then the armor comes off at the end and she's a woman. That must have surprised so many people back in the day.
I keep joking, she's my wife.
Where shall we go next? I've got a couple of other adverts that I've noticed as well, but if you want to pick
weird
something.
One. This stood out to me not because I found it interesting but confusing. That's on page 40 of the Game Shark. So where I lived, we didn't have the Game Shark. We had Action Replay. So when I saw Game Shark, I'm like, what is a Game Shark? Is this a game I can play? No, it's a cheat device. But I'm seeing this crazy woman wearing fruit on her head, the kids going trick and treat. So I thought, oh my God, this must be a horror game. This is interesting. So I was really misled by this advert here.
I can see why, because particularly if you weren't able to read the text that was alongside it, I'm trying to
Abuse
imagine
the
what.
power. I mean, it was lost to
Yeah.
me as a kid. I even went down to my parents, do we have a Game Shark? And I'm like, what's a Game Shark? I don't know.
I'm trying to imagine what game this could possibly be from this advert. I tell you what, I would imagine is like, have you seen the Hello Neighbor games recently?
No.
Okay. I can imagine it being something like that where kids are trying to get into somebody's house, break in and explore it. And instead of the angry neighbor being this old guy with the beard and mustache, it's this Carmen Miranda type character with the hat of fruit, a very extravagant character.
Yeah.
Um, I think there should be a game for that now.
Yeah.
I want to play that game.
I'm just flicking through the pages. I page 44. I remember I said, Ocarina of Time, and you see Link talking to Ogoron as a child. I used to read that. I'm like, oh, oops, true. Let me just zoom in quickly. I was like, I like these little snippets here and there about all these different games because I found it really interesting. There you go, Armored Core, because I love mechs. I didn't know back then that Armored Core was made by it's not they're not called FunSoft, no, From Software. There you go.
Yeah.
Because now they got a reputation because of Dark Souls, but I do love the Armored Core games. I'm playing the new one on the PlayStation 5, and it's brilliant.
I've never played those games, to be honest.
If you like mechs or frames or scrolls, whatever they call them, like I call them mechas, you
Hmm.
will love it. I mean, you get to customize your own weapons. You get to cause carnage and destruction. It's a game for you. I highly recommend it.
Yeah, I haven't played many of those games. I did play Titanfall, the Titanfall games, and they're
Yeah.
kind of mech inspired as well. Because I played that after watching the Pacific Rim films, and I quite enjoyed it. I know they were not popular, but enough to give two games. But yeah, I might have a look at that. So there's a newer version of it now on PlayStation, and I'm assuming Xbox as well. Sorry, I don't have a PlayStation. I've got the Xbox
No
myself at the
worries.
moment. I'm just looking to see what the latest version is from software, you said. I can't find it. I'll have a look for that later.
Armored Core 6 Fires of Rubicon.
Rubicon, right. Yep.
Very good game.
Okie dokie. I will
I
check that
stopped
one out.
playing it because I started playing something else and I have to get back to it. But I really enjoyed it because you can customize your mech, and I love mechs. I draw them myself. So I'm like, I'm going to custom my mechs. I'm going to make it white and blood and black with blood red paints and everything like that. I'm like, oh yeah, I got my mech now. And when my husband came, I was like, "Oh, you made Metal Gaiden? How cool is it?" Yeah, and I put a plasma rifle on her and everything. And enemies are dying. It's like, of course, you blood first. You always have to kill everything.
Right, okay. Where should we go next?
So I was looking. I remember page 52 when I saw the Sonic mascot, and I'm like, "Oh my God, those blue tights do not fit the costume." And what's interesting on page 52 is you like your first retro arcade compilation on the PlayStation. And these are like, I believe those are Atari games. I just thought, yeah, back then we also had retro compilations, which is really cool. By Activision, of course.
Yeah, I had a retro compilation on the Amiga of all things, which was full of Spectrum games.
Oh
Uh,
wow, that's cool.
it just blew my mind that the Amiga could play something like the Spectrum. Obviously, the Amiga, as good a machine as it was, wasn't quite up to the task of emulation just yet. So the Spectrum games were running a little slower than they would have normally. But it just opened my mind to the possibility of playing games on other system years down the line. And sure enough, I still play Spectrum and Amiga games to this day using emulation. So yeah, I didn't realize that there were Atari games that you could get on the PlayStation.
I
Well,
was
sorry,
really
Atari
blown away they
Activation.
added that. Oh my goodness. Jumping to the next, because I had the N64. I was looking at page 62. You have Turok 2, Seeds of Evil. I actually have that game finally. I haven't played it, but I did play Turok 1 a few years later, and I was like, the thing is, when I'm a child, I do like colorful graphics. I was even into guns and stuff because I did play Doom. My mom was like, "Oh dear, my daughter has thirst for blood again," and my sister says, "I think you're raising a boy, not a girl." My sister's also a hardcore gamer, so they used to joke about me being the boy in the family because I just liked all these guns. I liked fast cars and stuff like that. And when I was looking at Turok 2, I'm like, oh, this is for the N64. No way, that looks cool. And I was looking at the lady with the boobs, and I said as a joke, she doesn't have triangular boobs. So why does Lara Croft have triangular boobs? I just remember pointing that out in the image because I was always confused about it because as a child I didn't understand the limitations of the hardware. So I was like, chest is not triangle. What's going on here? Did she get flattened by a lorry or something?
Yeah, because it was the whole PlayStation using triangles for polygons thing, wasn't
Yeah,
it? And the Nintendo was a bit more advanced. I genuinely thought I loved the PlayStation, but I genuinely thought the Nintendo just worked with the 3D technology a whole lot better. And yeah,
I agree.
as you say, just that picture, and I know which picture you're looking at. If anybody's listening and looking at it on archive.org as well, it's the one on the right hand side, about 2/3 of the way down the page. Caption underneath: for a futuristic alien chick. Oh, here we go. Aiden isn't so bad, eh? A little pale though. Okay, there we go. Back to 90s sensibilities again.
So there is a game called, maybe you know it, is Cooler World, where you play as a ball and you have to go to all these obstacles and there's drugs and everything. You can actually get high in that game. It's called Roll Away in America. This was a game published by a Swedish company, or it was a Swedish developer. And it was an every demo disc where you could play this ball. It's like this beach ball bouncing around, avoiding spikes and stuff. So when I saw this was actually a standalone game as a child, I lost my mind. I'm like, this is not a demo disc game, but a real game. I'm like, well, how am I going to find Rollaway or Cooler World as it's called in PAL? So I'm like, oh, it's for the PlayStation again. Maybe I should start saving up for PlayStation at this point.
Yeah, that's on page
70.
69. Well, yeah. There's a slight difference on there because on archive.org it says page 70 on the thing down the bottom, but you look at the page
Ah,
numbers, it's showing us 69. So yeah, there's a slight difference with the page numbers. That that looks a lot of fun. What did you say it was called?
it
What
is
were called?
amazing. And then you get these pills. If you
Hmm.
take them, time slows down, you get psychedelic colors, and it's like, oh dear. And as a kid, I didn't understand that. I was streaming the other day, I'm like, oh my God, they put ecstasy in the game. I have never taken drugs. I just have to say that I just been reading up because I'm a huge fan of biology and stuff. Like, I'm like, oh my God, they actually added drugs into the game. That is just awesome. And you had these bonus stages that were really psychedelic. Like, you got these psychedelic cubes you have to jump on. The whole background is psychedelic. You got the trance techno music playing. It's like that game is amazing.
Oh, yeah, I want to go back and play that. With the dance music playing as well, I would
Mhm.
wonder if that didn't do the same sort of thing as Wipeout did here in the UK, because they obviously publicized Wipeout with all the music, the soundtracks, and everything. And there were PlayStations and games machines that ended up in nightclubs, so people could just go in and listen to the music and still play the game,
Wow.
and just get completely into the atmosphere of it, because the music was there. You could just play the game along with it as well. um, but yeah, I would imagine if that was techno music as well, that's probably something that also would have been played there.
Have you noticed we're already far into the magazine and there's nothing about Sonic Adventure yet? This magazine is nuts.
Oh yeah, keep turning the pages until you find what's on the
Yeah, I
cover.
am. So here's the thing I was telling about Ocarina of Time on page, I believe it's 80, it says 86 of 299 on my end, and there you
Yeah.
see like the big Goron, Link being an adult. When I saw Link could be an adult in that game, I'm like, you what now? I thought he could only be a kid, and I didn't know there was a golden cartridge. I don't think it came out in PAL region, so I'm like, wait a minute, my cartridge is gray. What's going on here?
Don't blow thy only chance for a limited edition gold cartridge. It
Hmm.
must be, yeah, participating retailers. Yeah, I would.
Rejoice and be glad. Well, I didn't get that option. Thank you, Norm.
I wonder where it was released. I wonder
Here
if it's
on the next page, there you see Link spanking a horse's butt. I'm like, Link can ride horses. Are you kidding me? Why is Link having different colors? Because I didn't get that far into the game yet. I'm like, and then you also see Epona, and as a kid, I was like, what is this? What kind of voodoo is this? Because I don't see that in my version of the game, because I didn't understand the game was much longer, because I got stuck trying to open Lord Jabu Jabu's mouth with a fish. I didn't get I had to do that. So this was all lost to me, of course.
Yeah, that blue link is yeah.
My favorite outfit is Red Link with the mirror shield. That one is amazing. Oh, another game, Dragon Seeds, I've never heard about. Let's
Yeah.
see. I'm just flipping through the pages, and here's Jet Force Gemini, where they write like a tiny bit about it with NBA Jam on page 94. Oh my goodness, I remember that commercial. It used to haunt me. There's a commercial where you see a foot because a person is
Oh,
dead, Carmageddon. And I have that game because I do kind of like splatter, but as a kid, when you see like a dead body at the morgue, that kind of left a bad taste in my mouth.
are you looking at the Quake 2 advert there on page 102, or
You
have I
know, I'm on page
skipped?
94, sorry.
I haven't gone that far. Okay, hang on, 94. Oh, yes. That's interesting, actually, because you skip on to page 102, and there's another dead body with a toe tag on it.
Oh, yeah, there you go. And that stuff gave me nightmares.
Yeah, why are they doing the same thing? I mean, obviously, it sort of ties in with the theme of both games, I suppose, but that's very weird that both Quake and Carmageddon decided, how are we going to advertise our games? We'll just put a toe tag on a dead body and take a photograph it.
Yeah,
Hopefully.
even my parents were not that amused, to be honest. They're like, oh, you shouldn't be seeing this as a kid.
Yeah.
I'm just looking for more stuff. I haven't seen any dubious adverts yet.
That Twisted Metal advert there on page 98 would have scared me, I think. Probably would have scared
Yeah.
my partner more because she's not a clown fan. But yeah, that's quite a horrible one.
The
What else,
Box
Therese?
Life I have for the set. No, I don't have a box. I played that game. I was like, it's not so good.
Yeah.
Buster
Ah,
Groove. Wow,
Dr
I'm just looking through everything. Yeah, Eidos with
Driver,
more.
a preview for Driver on
This
page
magazine has quite the
120.
horror
Yeah.
theme to it. I'm shocked.
Mm. And
Okay,
sports.
where is Sonic Adventure? I mean, enough of the sports. I don't like sports.
I'm skipping through trying to find it.
I'm just,
Uh,
oh yeah, here I see a naked butt or want the code. This is also a weird advert, and I didn't understand it as a kid. You see like this ponytail, a
yeah.
naked butt, someone's thong and G-string and two guns. And as a kid, I was like, what?
Wait, wait till you turn the page. Have a look what's on the next page.
Ah, boobies! And not the seagull.
At least this follows it up with another ad with the actual advert on page 132, which is for Trap Gunner, a game I haven't heard of.
Yeah,
But the
there you
idea
go.
being
I think that's
booby
why it
trap.
didn't bother me so much because you kind of get like, oh, you understand. Okay, lady is wearing a beautiful top. I'm jealous. I want that top too. And then in the next page, you're like, oh yeah, so it's a shooting game. Fair enough.
Right, let's have a look because I'm curious now. I want to see how far in we've got to go before we get to Sonic Adventure because that's really where the conversation is going. Wow,
Yep.
I'm like halfway through the magazine and I still haven't found it.
And they have done it in a weird way. They have put it in segments. So at first time I went through the magazine, I didn't even find it.
Yeah,
It's so weird. Let's see, more sports. I found Medieval. That's also a
I
cool
found it.
game.
Page 190.
No way.
Honestly, that's how far you've got to go before you get to Sonic Adventure.
Maybe that's why the Dreamcast didn't do too well, because they had no clue how to market the console.
Mm. And at this point as well, I should say that the scan in archive.org has gone a little weird because the pages are now on the wrong side. So you've got adverts that are split
There you
in the
go,
middle for wrong
found
reasons.
it. The blue Sonic Adventure.
Yeah.
This is the
I
reason why I bought the magazine. And when I saw Sonic being all cool, and when I saw Tails was a playable character, I lost my mind. But let me tell you what, I cannot tell you things that are not in the game. You see Tails flying in this beautiful Aztec-like city. That's probably Wind Valley Zone, but that scene doesn't exist.
Is that the one on page 192?
190. It's in the bottom. Maybe it's,
Oh, yes, I see it.
I have never seen it. So I feel cheated there. And then you have like Dr. Robotnik's space, you got Sonic snowboarding, you got Tails flying. Yeah, I mean, when I saw this as a kid, I was super hyped for the game and I was so heartbroken that I couldn't get hold of it. I'm like, are you kidding me? This is like how I always dreamt to play Sonic.
Yeah.
And then you
Well,
have Knuckles doing something weird.
these Knuckles.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and then you got Lemmings. Here's another horror theme. An axe. First you have dead bodies, and now you have an axe. I really like the theme of
Sonic
this
the
magazine,
Hedgehog
how
thing.
it's go between colorful to death and destruction.
Yeah. It, it's bizarre as well because it's a Sonic the Hedgehog game. You just don't expect to see things that dark
Yeah.
in a game that's ostensibly for kids. And yet here we go. But then they gave us Shadow, and to me, Shadow's always been like the darker character. Obviously, he's called
I
Shadow.
never liked Shadow because Knuckles used to be edgy. Then they made Shadow and then made Knuckles still a bumbling idiot. Now I
And
do like Shadow because I watched Sonic Prime and I liked his personality wasn't more dark, it was like more serious, and I think that fits him much better. But what I don't like about the structure of this magazine is like you have only a few pages Sonic Adventure and then you get all these weird adverts that have nothing to do with the game. And I feel like the people who put this magazine together should be ashamed. Like, here we go, we have the Criticast now. And I was like confused, like, wait, I'm playing as a cat named Big? Okay, who's this character? Because as a child, I'm like, I know Sonic, I know Tails, I know Knuckles. I'm like, who the heck is Amy? I'm like, ah. Because, and then I'm like, is that the same Amy from Sonic CD? Okay, so they've done some changes to the characters. That's really cool. And then you got like E102R. I don't know if his name was Omega. And then again, you get more ads. This time it's wrestling, and it's just how it's laid up. It's so weird.
Yeah.
And here's the
Wrestling,
dragon I
Smash
talked
Focus.
about. On page 204, you have the tornado being attacked by a big dragon or bird-like creature.
Yeah, on the right hand side.
That was taken out of the game.
Oh no. That looks cool, to
Yeah,
be
it really
fair.
does look cool, and I was looking forward to see that as a boss. And then you also see like Big jumping. I thought when I first saw that as a kid, I thought Big could fly with his ears like Cream the Rabbit does, but this is him. This is somebody jumping around while he's fishing. And it's just how I just find the layout, like how the game is being presented, is really odd in this magazine. It's easy missable as well.
Yeah.
And here at page 216, it continues. You get all the zones like Ice Cap, Red Mountain, Lost World, Lava World. Lava World is Red Mountain, but okay. I can already see all the mistakes the magazine is doing, and it's driving me insane. Like, who edited this?
Yeah, I mean, you say about the adverts in there because I'll be honest. I mean, there's what 6 pages of adverts for Electronics Boutique. Now, if I
Hmm?
was reading this at the time, I would have got to the bottom of page 208 and thought, oh, okay, well, there's obviously no more because there's a big 6 page advert here. I might not even have carried on reading at that
That's
point.
what
Thinking, no,
happened
it's
to
just gonna.
me. I didn't see this part until years later. Like in page 216, now you get the zone layouts, which are completely wrong. But okay, that's the editor's choice, and you have like more of the characters looking cool and stuff.
Hmm.
And I'm really fascinating to see the screenshots. And again, there's more ads. Again, there's a horror game. The Nightmare continues on N64. What game is that? Interesting.
The nightmare continues.
Oh, it's Creatures. I know that game. I actually want that game because it looks interesting. In like
Yeah.
here, like the whole Sonic thing just ended, and now you like how to find a coin up.
Hmm.
And I'm like now asking, is that it? Did we get everything of Sonic? Is it over now? Or
Yeah. It's sort of you think it's ended, then it carries on, and then it just sort of comes to an end with no sort of. Yeah, it's a very strange, as you say, editorial decision on this
yeah,
because I mean, when did I say it started on page 190, didn't it? We're on
yeah.
page two 15 sort of by the end of it. So you've got 25, 26 pages and probably maybe about 15, 16 pages of that is ads. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm having a look actually. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Yeah, 17 pages of ads inside effectively a 26-page feature. They could have put all of the Sonic Adventure stuff together and just
Hmm.
put all the ads together, but obviously let's spread the ads out and make the Sonic feature look a lot bigger than it actually is. But in there, I've just spotted there's a Lemmings advert, and Lemmings is always a great game to me.
I have it on the SNES.
Yeah, I had it on the Amiga.
I am my husband's friends are all Amiga addicts. They used to play it on the Amiga and I love the music. I'm just going through other pages, anything sticks out. I find this one interesting, how to find well like a coin op or an arcade cabinet as I call them. I actually
Hmm.
have friends in the Netherlands building their own arcade cabinets and they just building the whole system and everything.
Oh, I can imagine that's gonna be quite a big job then if they're
Oh,
building
they,
them.
they sell it. So they call Pixel Palace and they do stuff and now they're trying to
Ah,
make like a miniature version.
oh, right, okay, yeah. I mean, this article is all about buying them, and I remember at the time as a kid, I thought I really love my own arcade machine, but then it's a case of how much is it, and you get one game,
Yeah.
essentially. But now some of the arcade machines that I've seen, and I do love the custom built one where you can put as many things as you like in,
That's what
stock
my
up on
friends did, but they
games.
want to do it legally because it's
Yeah.
downloading ROMs is not a legal route. So I think they actually are trying to get hold of the newer devs who make retro inspired games for original hardware. So I think they're trying to get hold of them to so they can actually have a legal product they can sell.
Hmm.
I mean, you got these Chinese handhelds that say, yeah, our machines support this, but my question is it legal?
Yeah, and just looking at it as well, because they've got the prices for some of these as well. Because on page 222, they talk about, or 223 even, they talk about Tempest being $500, and the price then goes up to Marvel versus
Ooh.
Capcom for is that $3,000? And that obviously is back in 1999, 1998
We
even.
don't even want to imagine how expensive it is today. With today's retro market prices, yeah, that's gonna be nuts.
Yeah, the thing is for me, if I had an arcade machine, I'd like the ones there on the next page, the Sega Rally or the Daytona sit down consoles. That's my
I would
thing
love
is
Bubble Bubble because that game is so cute.
yeah. Paperboy, I'd love as well.
I have
With
actually never
handlebars.
played But I also love those racing games on the cabinets, like where you have the steering wheel and everything. They're great fun for 2-player.
Yeah, exactly. If I get to an arcade these days and it isn't an arcade where it's, the sort of Sega ticket dispensers, which always annoy me because you've got to win like thousands of these tickets to walk away with a bar of chocolate or something.
Yeah.
I like going into actual arcades where you don't win coupons and tickets at the end. It's just you're playing it for the sake of playing it. And I usually gravitate towards the racing games. So if they've got Outrun 2 or Daytona or even one of the more modern ones, I'm quite happy to play it. But yeah, it's they're fewer and far between these days. I don't know how it is with
we
in
don't really
Norway.
have them. There's one arcade we have in Stavanger, but it's more like with the ticket system again.
Mm.
I don't think it's a proper arcade because I know you got them in UK. You got Brighton, you have Leeds, the arcade clubs, and there's one more, and I think that's Blackpool.
Mm.
I've been there, and they're really nice. We don't have them here. I mean, we have a club here in South Norway, but you have to pay a membership to even get in. So I'm like, oh.
Yeah, there was a place in Cardiff near me, and I think it's closed down now, sadly. But it was called the Arcade Vault, and you could go in there, and there were a few arcade machines sprinkled around inside, but mainly it was just retro game, and they had an Atari Jaguar set up. They had Spectrums, BBC computers, Nintendo's, PlayStation, Sega's, everywhere you looked. And they had things like the Kinect set up, so you could play some of the Kinect games. You had Nintendo Wii set up with the nunchucks and the Wiimotes as well. But yeah, I think it sort of disappeared. It was part retro gaming arcade, but also a cafe as well. So you could go in, just basically have a cup of coffee or
That's nice.
a snack. I'm pretty sure it's closed down now, which is sad.
There was an arcade place I went in Glasgow, and they had cocktails named of all the video game characters. Like there was a Robotnik drink, a Super Mario drink, a Sonic drink. I'm like, oh, and the entire style was 80s. It was like this super duper neon color, very cool music playing, and he had the cabinets in the back room all lit up in the neon colors and everything. I love that place. I think it's called NQ64. I'm not sure.
Yes, we've got an NQ64 in Cardiff as well. Now you've mentioned it. I haven't gone in there yet.
I highly recommend it.
Yeah, we did I went to a stag night last year actually, and we ended up going to one of these gaming bars, but it wasn't a video game one. It was you basically go in, bought drinks, and they had 10-pin bowling,
Okay, yeah, we
darts,
have
all
them
sorts of
here.
things. Few arcade machines as well, pool tables, that sort of thing. But it was geared towards the gaming side of it, and yeah, I want to actually go and get to somewhere like NQ64.
So I've been jumping into the magazine,
Mm-hmm.
and I want to point out the quirkiness of it. So at page 262, you have a human heart in a blender, someone's X-ray of a spine, a guy playing really weird on a chair TV combo, and a guy being dead on books. I'm like, what is this?
Oh yeah, sorry, 262. I was trying to find it. Is that an that's an ad. What the heck is that an ad?
The Americans and the ads, really. I thought we Norwegians were bad because we have a lot of sexual jokes in our ads, and it's done in such a way as an innuendo. It's hilarious. But the Americans are like, why?
Yeah, I'm just looking because it picks up from the
I have
first
on the page
part.
before it. So it seems to be
Yes,
some kind of, oh, it's a gaming chair, the intensive survival guys. So basically, it's a chair with feedback and crap like that.
yeah, that's what I think it is. Um, but it's funny because this only seems a small development. We were talking about a gaming chair on a previous episode, And it was funny because it was basically an office chair with a platform that you could plonk your joystick on.
Okay.
And this one just seems to be only a slight development on that, except for the fact that the chair is force feedback enabled. So pretty much
And
anything
it puts your heart in a blender.
I don't know if I want to do that. The dodge. So if you're doing a dodge in the game, does it actually move your chair?
I have no clue. This is really intriguing and weird at the same time.
The duck.
I mean, I do VR gaming. I actually do have I do have the Quest 3 because I love that device. And that really messes up with your brain if you're not used to it.
Yeah, I've only played some of the Meta Quest.
But imagine having VR and this chair, and you're going like on a roller coaster.
Oh God,
That would be amazing.
I'm terrified of roller coasters. I'll be
I love
honest.
them.
I think I'd be a quivering wreck at the end of it. There'd be a
I'm
puddle
a
on the
type of
floor.
person who is afraid of stuff, but I like to challenge it on because then I feel more alive afterwards. And some of my best friends, they're like, "We're not going on that. Oh, it has loops. Bye." And then like she just went on the roller coaster. She's scared shitless. And I come back and why does it go? So I'm like, that was fun. Let's do it
again. I'm also, as I said, I'm scared of roller coasters. I'm also scared of heights as well.
Yeah, same. I have severe vertigo. I feel like when I'm on top of something, I have to jump.
Yeah. I got a chance to do a virtual reality thing, and it was a wingsuit simulation. I don't know if it actually had a name in the system.
Dear.
But I thought, you know what? Let's see if I can cope with it. And I thought, I can feel my feet on the ground. I know I'm standing on the ground. But the immersion that I felt just diving down and going over cliffs, right? No kidding, I was shaking when I took the headset off.
I'm sure your brain got confused because it sees it's falling, but your feet are on the ground. So it probably like what's going on here? This doesn't make sense anymore.
Yeah, and it was at a Comic Con as well, so I could hear the bustle of people around me as well. And my brain was thoroughly confused.
Oh my goodness. I remember I went on a climbing course here. Where it's outside, you're like a few meters up in trees and stuff, and my mom's husband was cheering me on. In the end, I was literally hugging a tree, crying because I was so afraid. And then you see the kids like walking past me like it was nothing. And like, what? And you have like this 20-plus-year-old shivering and crying. And if I was like, come on, you can do it. I believe in you. And remember, you have a harness on. I'm like, this is not helping.
One thing I did as well, it wasn't VR as in computer simulation. They'd obviously taken a 360-degree camera on a racetrack and filmed an actual motor race with this 360-degree camera. And I thought, all right, okay, you've got the chance to sit in there and look around and experience the race. You could hear it, literally look around to all parts of the car. You can't control it, obviously, because it's pre-recorded. But I remember coming off that and my heart was racing, but I had a massive grin on my face as a huge racing fan. I loved the immersion of that, particularly with the sound and everything. Because I'd walked past it and I'd seen people sitting down thinking, oh, is it that immersive? And of course, I sat down and I came off that and I was thinking, I'm so glad I was sat down because I would have fallen off multiple times.
Wow.
Yeah. But yeah, so much fun. But yeah, as I said, that wasn't even VR with computer imagery. That was just a 360-degree camera.
That's awesome.
But so much fun. Yeah. What else have we got in here?
I'm looking at Spyro the Dragon, so this is basically the ad that really wants me to play the real game because there was so much showing, like it shows you the chess, because I've only played the demo as a child.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, oh my god, it is actually a very long, cool game. So, and I'm very embarrassed to admit, I do have a PlayStation 1 now. I still don't have Spyro the Dragon. And like, I don't know why. I have to hunt the game down because I do want to stream it someday. Because I haven't played the remake or the HD remake, and I prefer the original pixelated look. And there's also Mega Man. A game I heard this game is really terrible, Mega Man Legends. But it looks fun. I mean, when I first saw Mega Man, like, he doesn't have a helm. What happened? Did he decide to yeet it away?
Is this more like Mega Man the Adventure type thing? Talking like Sonic the Adventure.
Probably, yeah. And people say, well, it's not a good game, but I think it looks interesting, and I would definitely give it a try. I'm looking to get it on the N64 because I love the N64. It's one of my favorite systems, that and the Mega Drive and the Dreamcast.
Yeah, I mean,
And I'm just looking more in the magazine. There's actually just not much. Well, we have a bunch of sports games that nobody cares about.
You'd get on with Colin, who was in my first episode, and he was going, sports games, not interested. Sports games, not interested. Everything we were looking at, he was just going, yep, not into that. So you get on well with him. But I mean, I love the fact that there's a lot of driving games being mentioned in this.
I don't count driving games as sports games.
Same. Yeah, exactly.
I have some friends who do. So when I was playing a racing game, they're like, "You're playing a sports game." So no, I'm not. Oh, it's Formula One cars, and it's not a sports game. You can fight me over that hill if you want.
But well, they're more like open world exploration now, particularly with things like Forza Horizon, where you're not. Yes, there's a racing element to the game, and it's a big racing element to the game. But if you want, you can just go for a drive around if you want.
Oh, you can play Burnout and smash your opponents up.
Oh,
I love that.
There needs to be a new Burnout game. Burnout Paradise.
I agree. I do miss them. I used to also play Prod. Oh, I think this is the next ad you were going to show me on page 286.
I wasn't going to show you that one, but yes, that counts. Placed a Tomb Raider 3 exposed. Lara Croft wearing
she's wearing nothing. Lara's Secret Confession.
Yeah, there was another one we skipped past actually, which I got to go back to and show you. But yeah, that's another one. Again, and just look at the page opposite as well. I mean, she's fully clothed, but the way she's posed, it's yeah. Where was the one I was looking at? Page. I mean, we're going back through the magazine a little bit now. Page. Oh no, it was. Sorry, I mentioned it already. It was the Booby Trap advert for.
That was just hilarious.
Yeah, I've got to ask you as well. We skipped past it on page 156. With your sense of humor, did you ever play any of these games? I mean, there was only one at the time, actually labeled at the bottom as page 162, even.
Let's see. Is it Kagero, you mean? Deception?
No, on the opposite page. There's a game called You Don't Know Jack. Did you ever play that?
I've never heard of the game before. You Don't Know Jack.
You haven't. If you've got the sense of humor you've got, I'm pretty sure you will like it.
Is that like Jackbox Party Pack?
Yes, it's the original version.
Oh my god! So I have played similar games like that on stream, but the problem is, of course, some of these games allow you to input stuff. Some people can come and put some really off-putting stuff, and that's why I can't play them anymore. Like, we're talking about racial hate speech, that kind of stuff, and they ruin it for the others. I do play these games offline because I find them hilarious, and when I'm playing, I'm trying to make it as lewd as possible. Yeah,
but this one, because it was the original version, now in the UK, they changed the presenter, and I'm trying to remember who it was. I think it was the guy who did Dennis Pennis as a comedy character originally, but in the American version, which I think was the international version, it was Cookie Masterson, who again I think was an original creation. But he presents these quiz questions in such bizarre ways of asking the questions. And, well, it's got the example there saying which of these scenarios is the best example of diffusion since it creates equal concentrations of Brady's in each room, basically basing it on the Brady Bunch TV series. And then it says it's like a sort of contemporary version, a media savvy version, if you like, of using those words and getting you to try and understand what the words mean. But it's a very funny game, in my opinion.
It would be fun to actually find that game still and put in one of the older systems just as a joke.
Yeah, I had the original version on PC. I didn't even know it had come out on the PlayStation, in all honesty. But there was an original PC version of it, which I really, really enjoyed. Just in that area as well, let's have a quick look back to page 120.
Okay. Jumping to it. Let's see. That is Driver.
Yes. Did you ever play the original Driver? Of course.
No, but it
must have.
looks fun. I mean, I already seen a car smashing into another car, so I approve. Disclaimer, I do not drive like that in real life. I wouldn't dare because I love my cars, but it's fun to do a bit of road rage in games.
Always a bit of fun. Basically, you take it into the video games and you can't do it in real life.
Yep.
Which is why I drive very calmly and very sedately when I'm out in real life. Put me behind the wheel in GTA and I've got the army after me.
I used to do it in original GTA and PlayStation. And I remember there was a scene where the guy's calling you an a-hole because just to be still polite, and I couldn't stop laughing as a kid. And someone looked at my mom and said, "You allow her to play games like this? Watch, my daughter doesn't act like that in real life. Just let her have her fun." I mean, what did she do? She's killing people. She's running them over. I said, "Look, Mom, I got red skid marks." Because I didn't connect it was violence. I thought it was ketchup. Okay, cool.
They've just dropped their burger out the window. You're fine. You know? Yeah. But Driver was a completely eye-opening game for me when it first came out. I remember seeing the adverts for it round about Christmas in the run-up to on TV in the run-up to that Christmas, and the graphics to me were like I was watching a film.
They look really, really good.
Yeah, I'd never seen anything as crisp and sharp as this before. And then when I got to play it, I couldn't believe that the game was as good as the advert. Because, sometimes you see adverts on TV or in the magazines or whatever, and you think it cannot be as good as that. This was 100% as good as the adverts were. And I couldn't get over that it was a game that was actually as good. But if you do get a chance to play it...
I have to. For which system is it on?
It was on PlayStation and PC.
Okay. Yeah, it says here, I can't read. It says right here, it's PlayStation.
Right. I will give you some advice, though, if you've never played it before. Okay. The game starts with a tutorial, and it is the most brutal tutorial in gaming history because you have to perform a number of stunts in 3 minutes in this parking garage, and it won't let you advance to the next part of the game until you do this tutorial, which is absolutely brutal. You can't skip it. You've got to play it, and it's hard. Once you get past it, it's a lot of fun. The game opens up completely, and you can spend hours just driving around, just having fun. But the tutorial, I don't know what they were thinking. It was absolutely brutal.
They were probably very high back then when they made the game.
Yeah, exactly. All you got to do, just do a search on YouTube for driver game car park, and you'll see what I mean. And it took me days to get past it when I first had the game.
I bet. I'm going to YouTube it right away.
Yeah.
Let's see. Driver car park tutorial. It has a lot of hate.
Oh yeah.
PC Gamer, how a childhood crime movie inspired Driver's notoriously difficult car park tutorial. Why would they do that? I'm just saying, why would they do that? It's like, we don't want you to play our game. You suck. It's good. Play something else.
Yeah, and
it's like a game putting you to the last boss with absolutely zero level, zero skill, and that's kind of mean.
Oh yeah, particularly when you get to the first few levels of the game, and they're so sedate, they're quite easy. But then it's one of those games where you get to the final level, and you've got to drive all the way across the map without crashing. And it's not that you can't crash; you can. But if you crash, it slows you down so that you can't do it in the time limit. So just hitting something, if it's another car, a building, whatever, you're going to have to restart the mission because you ain't going to do it. But
right.
Yes,
that sounds really like a peculiar game. I like that.
but it is one of the most brutal game tutorials I've ever come across. So, if you do play it and you like it, then there's the sequel as well, Driver 2, and that's a bit more GTA like because you can get out of the car and walk around. To be honest, you're better off driving because the person walking around animations are really bad. But yeah, it's better as a
I
driving
actually found the game in Norway. They're going for £22 online. Not bad, I guess.
Yeah, that's not too bad a price. There is a game on the next page that I want to have a quick look at as well.
Let's see, what page is it again? I keep flipping.
Just onto the next page. It'll be 122 at the bottom.
122.
Yeah, Formula 198.
Oh yeah, that. I think I actually know that game.
They were quite a big thing on the PlayStation because the only official Formula One games at the time were made by Sony Entertainment. So there was one that came out in 95. There was a brilliant one that came out in 97. And then they brought out this version in 98, and everyone was expecting it to be as good as the first two. This one is terrible.
Oh no!
It is the worst official Formula One game there's ever been. And it was so disappointing because I remember buying it on day of release. I was thinking, this has got to be amazing. No.
It's amazing as target practice.
If
you have a BB gun.
I'll tell you what else it can be used at as well, for putting your drinks on.
Yeah, as a coaster.
Yeah.
Or as playing frisbee.
Frisbee, yeah. Doorstop.
Very important.
Very expensive doorstop, admittedly. But yeah, it is. You look online at Formula One games, and I am, as I said, I am a Formula One fan, but Formula 198 is the worst Formula One official title ever.
I bet.
Yeah, and when you know that EA have made some as well, that's saying something.
Wow.
Anyway, is there anything else in the magazine that you want to look at?
That's what I'm looking right now. I just jumped to the last page because that's just okay. Let's see. Nope.
That last page is interesting with the cutout mask.
Yeah, I remember that one, and I didn't get the point of it. Something at Sega. Is it? Oh, it's Panzer Dragoon Saga.
Is it that game?
Yeah, it's Panzer Dragoon Saga. It's the I forgot his name. It's the hero as you play as. So they did commercials for Saga.
It's not. Is it the commercial though, or is it?
Because you see below the game. Because I have the game.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Azel.
Yep. Azel's the lady, I believe, in the game.
Okay. Edge? I don't know. I haven't played it, so
It is a beautiful RPG, and the music in it is amazing because it's a female composer, and she did such a good job getting the essence of Panzer Dragoon into it as an RPG. It is amazing, this game. It's only super expensive.
Yeah, I can imagine. I saw your copy in that video that I was talking about earlier. How much did you pay for that one again?
So the first copy was 7,000 crowns, which is, I'm going to Google that one because our Norwegian crowns has gone, down the drain. So my first copy, so when I bought it, it was £650. And now the crown has collapsed, so it's 515, and the copy was broken. The second copy I got was £550.
Wow.
And I did get insurance money back for it because what they did, they broke the disc in two, which makes it borderline useless because without disc 2, you can't play the game.
I'm glad you got something back on it though.
They gave me the full refund.
It's still heartbreaking though if you're expecting it and you see the state on the disc as it comes through. But...
And the thing is as well, it's a very rare game. I think it's only 1,000 copies made for the EU, so now it's only 999 copies left. Sorry. I do have a CDR of it now, so disc 2 is now a CDR, which works perfectly if you have a special cartridge to play it. And it will read the original save file from the original games. It's not a problem.
Yeah. Well, I am out of notes for the magazine, so
Yeah, same here. I mean, I've been looking at everything. I mean, if you want to look at a very cool game, there's a game called Akuji, The Heartless for the PlayStation, and that's on page 106. I have never, ever, ever played this game. I don't know what it is even. It just says dark dreams, blood and fire of drums pounding rhythm. Now, as a kid, I wouldn't have cared. Now, me as an adult, I find this rather intriguing. I'm gonna research if we ever got that game here or not. Let's see. Yeah, Crystal Dynamics. There you go. It gave me Soul Reaver vibes.
Akuji the Heartless.
Let's see. It was released in PAL region.
Eidos Interactive
Cool.
again.
And it got an okay rating.
That's interesting because we were looking at that one earlier on, and it mentioned about it being built on the Gex Enter the Gecko game engine. This one is too. So this game is probably very similar to the one we were looking at earlier on.
Yeah.
In appearance, I should say, in gameplay. But yeah, I wonder how many they put out then. It's like, oh, we've got this Gex 3D animation, and let's try and make as many characters. Let's bring out as many games as we can using that engine while it's still in vogue.
So the game is cheaper in EU. I can actually get it for £15 in the UK.
Okay.
Interesting. Some places are more expensive, but yeah, that looks actually interesting because I love Soul Reaver. I played Soul Reaver on the Dreamcast. That's my favorite Legacy of Kain games of all time. Because Soul Reaver 2, they crapped on the gameplay, but really enhanced the story in Freya's Defiance or Defiance or how you pronounce it. And let's just say the ending made me very, very sad. I'm not going to say why. I don't want to spoil it to those who haven't played it yet, but yeah. And then they did nothing. They just let the series die.
Some of the best game series fall by the wayside, unfortunately. But anyway, anything else in the magazine?
I think that's it. I think we covered a lot of interesting stuff, including the funny ads and the very weird ads.
That's it. I mean, I've run out of notes as well. Thanks for joining me today. Where can people get hold of you if they want to carry on chatting about this issue of the magazine or just in general?
If you want to talk to me about anything gaming, both modern or retro, you can find me on the platform is now called X, which used to be Twitter as GameMistress. I'm also on Instagram as GameMistress. I'm on Twitch as GameMistress. I'm on YouTube as GameMistress. And I even stream on YouTube, Twitch, and X at the same time. So whenever you want to chat about games, you know where to find me.
So basically look for you as GameMistress on all socials and streaming sites. Fantastic. I can be found at NCC17 Formula 1 on Bluesky and at NCC_17 Formula 1 on Twitter, Instagram, and Threads. And you can follow the podcast 8-Bit Back Issues. That's the number 8 and no spaces on all the same socials as well. That's the best place to find me if you want to join me and chat retro gaming on the podcast. But in the meantime, join us next month when I chat to another retro gaming fan and